Hello everyone, welcome to part 1 of ManageEngine OpManager's pre-training series. I hope you can hear me and see the presentation clearly. Please use the chat window to confirm the same. I'll wait for a moment to get the confirmations. Thank you. So the goal of this training session is to simplify network monitoring and help you utilize OpManager in the best way possible. I hope this objective gets met by the end of this session. I would also like to let you know that there is a panel of product experts here with us. Please feel free to raise your queries on the chat panel, and they'll be happy to answer all the questions right away. To introduce myself, I am Arjun. I work in the IT Operations Management Suite for ManageEngine, and today I'll help you take a simple approach to network discovery. I'm glad to meet you all in this training webinar. This is the schedule for the season. The season's OpManager free training series is divided into 4 parts. Today on 18th January, we'll be talking about network discovery in detail. On January the 25th, we'll be talking about network monitoring. The third part, which is on February the 1st, we'll be talking about alerts, reports, network mapping. And on February the 8th, we'll wrap up the series by discussing about add-ons, integrations, and third-party integrations that OpManager has to offer. So all these 4 training sessions will be conducted across 2 time zones. One is 6 a.m. GMT and the other one is 11 a.m. EDT. The recorded version of this webinar along with the presentation will also be made available to you. They'll be emailed to you by tomorrow for further reference. So without further ado, let's proceed to part 1, which is network discovery. So going through the agenda, we'll start off with user management, talking about the various user roles and the modes of authentication in OpManager. Then we'll be talking about network discovery and the various discovery methods in OpManager. We'll discuss the discovery of virtual environments, interfaces, storage devices, and other components in your network separately. We'll also talk about 2 highlighted features that will make your discovery process smarter. Before we move on, one of the most common questions we receive is that, will OpManager be able to monitor a particular device that I use in my organization every day? For example, let's say I run a hospital. Will OpManager be able to monitor all the servers? Or let's say I run a power plant or an industrial setting. Will OpManager be able to monitor all the temperature sensors in it? We would like to answer this question before getting started with everything else. So the answer is yes. OpManager can monitor any device, provided the device is able to connect to a network through an IP address. So that's all that it takes. So now let's see how to manage user roles and users with OpManager. So after you've installed OpManager and before you start discovering devices in your organization, the first step is to give user access privileges to members in your organization so that the assigned individuals can take up their responsibilities and monitor the allotted devices effectively. So what user management feature in OpManager does is that it helps you create individual user profiles for each member in your admin team. This is because it is understood that not every user in your team needs access to the entire network. So depending on the devices that they monitor or the area within which they operate, the network admin can either grant or restrict user privileges to the users. So OpManager has 3 user roles. The first one is administrator user. The next one is that of operator. The third one is custom user. So as you can guess, the administrator user will be the one with the most unrestricted access to perform any operations in OpManager. They can perform actions such as adding or removing devices, changing configurations, etc. This role is usually taken up by the senior network engineer who oversees the entire network. So let's make sense of this using an example. So let's say your organization has a senior network admin named Adam. And Adam would have the administrator role. The next user role is that of the operator. And operators have read access alone. And it's up to the network admin if he or she wants to grant further privileges to the operator. In our case, let's consider Stephen as the operator. And the third user role is that of custom user role. This helps you customize user access privileges down to very individual modules. Again, this is up to the network admin if he or she wants to grant access to individual modules to this role. They can very well do it. So let's go to the product and see how this works. So settings, go to user management, and we can see users, roles, and password policy here. And already existing role templates are all visible. But let's proceed with the example at the same time. So here, let's say Adam wants to hire a dedicated person to take care of the dashboard and the reports section alone. And that's how Amy came into the picture. So he decided to hire Amy. Let's see how Adam can set up a custom user role for Amy. So here in roles, click on add role to get started with. And here, since we are talking about visualization, let's name this as visualization user. And here in the comment settings, here we can determine what module this particular role will have access to. So as of now, there's no access granted. Let's just grant access to dashboard and reports alone. And once we click save, this role gets created. We can see that here. Now let's move on to create user role. Here, click on add user. And from the roles that we created, use visualization user, let's name this as Amy, assigning, right? Assign a password as well. Click on next, and here we get to the user scope as well. So this allows you to give access to various modules and devices in your network. So here we can see that all devices, business views, and further down we have the modules again, whether we want to assign device group to which the user profile can have access to, we can determine and configure all of that here. But we'll proceed with this and save. Now we see Amy user profile has been created. Now let's go to the password policy as well. So here, this is all about configuring the minimum length, enforcing password history, whether password can be the same as the username, all of that, so that at the end of the day, the account is less vulnerable to security threats. So the lockout period, what's the maximum number of invalid login attempts, all of that you can configure here. So let's get back to the presentation. So now that we have created a user profile, let's see how to secure that profile by discussing the various authentication options available in OpManager. So we'll discuss two types of authentication. One is two-factor authentication and the other is SAML authentication. These two methods ensure that only credible users can log into OpManager. Let's get back to the UI. Here in settings, general settings, here we see authentication. And here we see radius server settings, AD authentication, SAML, two-factor authentication. So let's go with two-factor. Once you enable two-factor authentication, we see two modes through which the login, the authentication can reach you. One is that of time-based one-time password, and the other is that of email. And here we can also set for how many particular days a particular browser can be trusted, beyond which you'll need to authenticate again. And for SAML authentication, this is all about security assertion markup language. It's a type of authentication involving two components, SP and IP, that is service provider and identity provider. In our case, OpManager is the service provider, and the identity provider is an external application that is used to verify the credentials of the user to allow a login. So you can use identity providers such as Okta, ADFS, Azure, JumpCloud, OneLogin. So based on the identity provider you use, the procedure will vary. And we have provided a detailed explanation of this in our feature page. So you can visit the link shared in our chat panel to learn more. You have to configure the details of your identity provider in OpManager and vice versa to enable SAML configuration. So every time a user logs into OpManager, the credentials will be verified by identity provider, and the response will be communicated back to OpManager, and the user will gain access. So this is how it works. Now that we've learned to create user profiles and secure them, let's see how to set up credentials. So before discovering the devices in your environment, we need to add credentials in OpManager for the devices that we need to monitor. So what credentials do is it allows OpManager to access a device to collect relevant monitoring data without the need for any agents to be installed in the device. However, OpManager supports agentless monitoring using various protocols such as SNMP, WMI for Windows devices, Telnet, SSH for Linux devices, VMware, Citrix, and Nutanix for virtual devices. That being said, you can also monitor certain metrics using agents. We'll cover that later in this webinar. Let's get back to the UI. Go to settings, and here in Discovery, we see further down credentials. As you can see, we already have a library of credentials. So let's add a new credential altogether by clicking on Add Credential. Here we have, we'll go with SNMP v3. Let's name this 7. Let's give this the username admin. And here we see authentication methods which are provided to ensure better security. So secure hash algorithm or SHA. So higher the number, the better it is. But we'll go with 256. Let's assign a password. And for encryption, advanced encryption standard, that is AES, we'll go with 6. And once you click on save, the credential gets added to the library. So now we have learned how to create and secure user profiles and add credentials. Now all the basic steps are done. So let's now move on to discovery. The term discovery in OpManager refers to the addition of devices or interfaces for monitoring. So there are different ways of discovering network devices in OpManager. You can use IP range, subnets, import from Active Directory, or import from CSV files. Please note that all these 4 ways help you discover devices in bulk. So it's not just individual devices or just a small group of set of devices. You can actually import devices in bulk. Let's go back to the UI. Here under discovery, we have network discovery. And we can see the discovery processes that have been run, that have been created. Let's create a new one altogether by clicking on new discovery. And we can see here IP range, subnets, import from AD, import from CSV. We'll go with IP range for now. Let's give this one. We can add multiple IP ranges as well, but for now we'll go with just one. Select the pertinent credential. And once you click on discover, the process will start to run. But before we do that, let's get back to the presentation and talk about a smart discovery feature that will make your discovery process even smarter. So the first feature is discovery filter. So what discovery filters do is it allows you to add or ignore certain devices in a particular run of discovery. So let's use the example again. Say Adam wants to discover all the servers in the organization. So he has the entire IP range of the devices. But if he was to rely on conventional means, he would have to perform different runs of discovery. And the whole thing would be very tedious. With discovery filters, Adam can easily create a filter for servers and apply it to the discovery process. Therefore, from the entire IP range, only the servers will get discovered. Let's get back to the UI and see this. Here, we've given the IP range. And here on the left, we see a link, want to ignore devices. Once we click on that, the discovery filter appears. Here we can determine whether we want to discover devices or ignore devices. So since we are looking to discover, let's give a category that equals, and let's give the value which is server. So we are looking to discover just servers alone from this particular IP range. Click on add, and this filter has been added. And once you click on discover, now the discovery process will run with the discovery filter along with it. Once the devices are discovered, you will get the option to approve or ignore devices. So as the name suggests, the devices that you approve will be added to OpManager for monitoring, and the devices you ignore will not be considered for future discovery process. The devices that are neither approved nor ignored will be listed under the unapproved devices tab. So as far as we've seen, we saw how OpManager discovers bulk range of devices, all of that. But how do we add single devices? This is pretty straightforward. We'll go back to the UI and see this. So here right under discovery, we see add device server. Click on that. You can give the pertinent IP address and select the credential, and the individual device will be added instantly. And here on the right, we have discovery schedule. So most organizations, in regular intervals, let's say monthly or quarterly, the scaling and growth never stops. And that means devices and components are added to the network continuously. And this means, from the perspective of a network admin, they'll have to run multiple discovery processes to promptly add these devices to the network, which is another manual and time-consuming process. What a network admin can do is, through OpManager, schedule discovery processes so that in regular intervals, this discovery process gets run and the devices are promptly discovered. So let's see how we can do this. Again, go back to settings. Here, network discovery. Here in the tabs, we see discovery rule. We can see already existing discovery rule templates. So if you want to run it instantly, you can select on an existing one and click on run now, and they'll discover those devices in an instant. But since we are looking to add a new discovery role altogether, let's click on add rule. And here, among the library of discoveries that have been created, we also have a clock button. So this is where we configure how when the discovery process should run. So we can have it run daily or weekly or monthly, yearly. So again, going back to the example, so what if, say you want to perform a discovery process every month, fourth Saturday of a month at 23 hours. So let's say monthly, day-wise, which is fourth, and on Sunday. So here we are telling OpManager to run a discovery process every fourth on Sunday and at 23 hours. And here we can configure what action is to be carried out when a device is newly added or removed during discovery. And if a new device is found, what should be the next step? Should it start add and start monitoring right away, or add as unmanaged, or do not add? You can choose to determine that. And if a device is removed, what to do about it? Delete or unmanage? And should you want email notification, you can configure that here as well. Give the email address, content, and all of that. Now let's talk about discovery reports. So discovery reports gives you valuable insights into each completed discovery runs. So again, let's go back to the product. So at the rightmost corner, we see discovery report. Here we can get the details. Let's try the here. Yeah, so we can see the name details like device name, IP address, device type, last runtime, along with actions that were performed. And further, let's consider a scenario where, again, using the old example, Adam, our network admin, decides to take a day off and grants the access to add devices to the network to other admins, which is Stephen and Amy. But Adam wants to see the operations performed by each admin from their devices in each respective module of OpManager in his absence. So this can be done using the audit feature. So let's go to system, and further down we see audit report. Here we can see all the pertinent details like date and time, description, the username, which module they access, the device name, client address, all of that. So now let's get back to the presentation and talk about the second smart discovery feature, which is discovery rule engine. So discovery rule engine allows you to automate post-discovery actions and reduce initial configuration time. This is because post-discovery actions is something that takes up most of the network admin's time in organizations. So let's find out how this can be done. Here, go to settings, to discovery, and in network discovery. Here we see discovery rule, and we see already created rules. Once you just go with. So here, let's consider a scenario. Say you want to collect event logs for application failures in all the server devices on your network. So again, let's imagine if we were to do this conventionally. So that means every time a server device is discovered in OpManager, you have to associate an event log monitor manually. So this is a very time-consuming process from the point of view of a network admin, while they have to attend critical tasks on the other side as well. But with discovery rule feature, you can define a rule to add event log monitor to all discovered server devices. So let's name this rule as a server rule. So let's select the criteria. So go with category that equals server. This gets added. You can add multiple criteria as well by choosing between or and in the action, what to do when that criteria is met. So here, let's add associate an event rule, event log rule. Here, any application failure. Now we've added, and once you click on save, the rule gets added. And always remember to enable it so that every time the discovery can run immediately and all the devices can be discovered. So once the rule is added, OpManager makes sure that all the applicable devices that will be added to OpManager henceforth. So similarly, you can add rules to perform actions like, for example, adding to a business view or adding notification profiles when certain criteria are met. And all the discovered devices are automatically added to the inventory here. Let's get back to the presentation. But before we proceed, a gentle reminder, if you have queries or questions, you can start posting them right away. Our expert panel will go through them and answer towards the end of the session. So now we discovery in general. So going further, we'll discuss about discovery of individual components. So let's get started with interface discovery. So interfaces are the core of any network. They form a bridge between different components, connecting the entire network. And that's why in OpManager version 1.2.5.174, a separate option completely dedicated for interface discovery has been added. Here you can define the criteria of the interfaces to be discovered using the interface discovery option. So whenever a device is discovered by OpManager, the device along with its interfaces will be discovered. But you may not require all the interfaces associated with the devices to be discovered either. Moreover, discovering all the interfaces creates unnecessary load on the OpManager server as well. So we have a separate discovery process for interfaces where you can select the list of required interfaces and add them for discovery. So let's see this in the product. So under settings, go to discovery, and here we have interface discovery. And here, let's select category equals, so let's say routers. Click on touch sign to add it. And again, we can choose, you can have multiple criteria as well by choosing between. And for interface, let's go with the interface speed greater than 100. So here we are asking OpManager to discover routers when interface speed is higher than 100 MB per second. So once you click on, every time you discover routers in OpManager, only the interfaces with speed more than 100 will be discovered. And all the discovered interfaces again will be made visible on the inventory here, under the interfaces tab. So let's get back to the presentation. Next up is virtualization discovery. So Manager's virtualization discovery allows you to discover virtual networks of popular vendors such as VMware, Hyper-V, Nutanix, and Xen. Again, let's get back to the product and see this. So again, go to settings, go to discovery, and further down we see virtualization discovery, and here we see vendors like VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, and Nutanix. So now let's go with VMware. Here, just provide the IP address. And once you click on discover, the discovered hosts and VMs will be listed in the inventory. So let's see that here. And specifically the virtualization tab. Here we can see the total overview and vendor-wise classification as well. We can get a quick snapshot by clicking on individual VM, and here we have the full details, metrics, all of that. Next up is layer 2 discovery. So layer 2 discovery is a very useful feature in OpManager as it allows you to discover the second layer of devices that are connected to a main or core device. Here, for example, say you have a core router and there are multiple devices associated with it. So with the help of layer 2 discovery, all you have to provide is the IP address of the core router. And then the associated devices are discovered and mapped automatically. You can also configure device dependencies with this. So most network monitoring tool, what it does is when there is a overwhelming number of alerts that come in when, say, there's a network downtime. But with configuring device dependencies, when a core router with 50 associated devices goes down, OpManager will raise only one alert. This indicates that the core router went down. And this is a huge boon for network admins because there isn't a case of 51 separate alerts being raised. There is just one alert being raised of a core router, seed router going down. And there is also an option to configure rediscovery period. So OpManager performs a layer 2 discovery in set intervals and keeps the map updated. So let's see this in the product. So here, go to settings, with layer 2 discovery. Let's give the IP address as provide the IP range as well. So OpManager uses different protocols to perform layer 2 discovery. For Cisco devices, we use CDP. For other devices, use protocols like LLDP, IP route, FTP, or ARP. So here, once we've done that, select the pertinent credential. And once you click on discover, the layer 2 map will be, layer 2 devices will be added. So let's see this in a map as well. We have a visualization of it. Here, go to maps. And here we have layer 2 maps. So once you click on that, here we can see the core seed router and then all the connected devices. Next up is storage discovery. So if data is the heartbeat of an organization, then storage systems are at the very heart of it. So discovering and monitoring them is vital. So let's see how we can do this. So OpManager supports a wide range of storage devices like RAID, tape libraries, FC switches from leading vendors like Dell, HP, IBM, etc. And OpManager supports SNMP, CLI, SMI, and API credentials for adding these storage devices. Let's go to the UI and this. So again, go to settings, under discovery. Here we have add storage device. And here we have the different device types, RAID, tape library, FC switch. So let's go with RAID. Select, give the pertinent IP address. And once you click on OK, the storage device will be added. And we can view get a quick snapshot going to the storage tab here, and we have device type wise classification. Let's check out RAID and let's say click on this. So details of the discovered storage devices, all of that will be here. The vendor, category, type DNS, the availability, all of that will be made. The next up is wireless LAN discovery. So this is another licensed module inside OpManager that allows you to discover WLC controllers and gain in-depth information on various metrics like traffic usage, overall data usage, data sent and received, wireless signal strength, authorized and unauthorized Wi-Fi connections detected by your access points. All this listed as rogue SSIDs and rogue devices. Detailed information on the health and availability of connected access points and active clients across your network. All of this will be made visible to the network admin. So in addition to this, exclusive reports on WLCs can also be obtained. So let's get back to the UI. So under settings, go to discovery, and here we have wireless LAN controller. Here just the IP range again. And select the, let's say, add the pertinent credential. And once you click on add device, the wireless LAN controller devices will be added. And the discovered WLCs are listed in the inventory. They are listed separately under the wireless tab. So here we have wireless, and it gives an overall snapshot. So let's click on one, and again we get an in-depth drill down into. Apart from these, OpManager extends its support to discovering Cisco Meraki, Cisco ACI, Cisco UCS, and IPMI. So let's dive deeper into that as well. So talking about Cisco Meraki in particular, you can monitor Cisco Meraki controllers using OpManager and have a detailed analysis including availability, health, efficiency, and performance. You can also understand the workings of rogue SSIDs, client and access point usage. So again, let's go to the UI and see this. Under settings, here we have add Meraki. All you have to do is provide the API key, click on, and we can see this here. Go to network, and under wireless, you can see your Meraki device under the wireless tab. So going back to the presentation, we'll talk about Cisco ACI. So OpManager Cisco ACI monitoring, this feature helps you monitor the performance of your ACI environment and all its associated devices such as the fabric, tenants, and endpoint groups. So here, let's get back to the UI again. So under settings, you see Cisco ACI. Here, provide the IP address to ping the device and check if it is available from OpManager, and also provide the pertinent credential. And once you've discovered, you can go to the inventory and see the discovered device here. Moving on to the next part, we'll talk about IPMI. And IPMI stands for Intelligent Platform Management Interface. And this has become a universal standard supported by a majority of hardware vendors. So IPMI can be used to monitor the physical parameters of hardware like system temperature, fan speed, power supply, voltage, etc. You can also shut down or restart the server remotely. Currently, OpManager supports vendors such as Dell iTrack, HP ILO, and IBM IMM. So here, let's settings, go to discovery, and here we have add IPMI. All you have to do is select the vendor, give the pertinent IP address here, and then once you enter the credential and add device, it'll get added. So with this, we've completed the first part of the training series. So now let's address a few frequently asked questions that our panelists have forwarded us. So first up, question that arises is, what are the editions of OpManager? So the key is to choose the right edition that serves your network and server monitoring requirements. So we have 4 editions: Standard, Professional, Enterprise, and OpManager MSP. The link to this page has been shared to you in the chat panel. And the second question being, how to change the polling interval for devices in OpManager. So to change the polling interval, simply go to inventory and select a device and click on the sandwich icon and select the polling intervals to set up your custom interval. And after discovery, some devices get listed as unknown in the inventory. Why is this the case? So this is because it could be because of any of the following reasons. It could be discovery credentials being wrong. It could be because ports are closed. Your devices may not be matching with the device templates, or it could be that the discovered devices may not be reachable. So these 4 reasons probably are why the devices are listed as unknown. And here, my devices IP address keeps changing periodically. So is there a way for me to poll devices using another option? Yes, OpManager can poll your device using its DNS instead of its IP address. To configure this for all your devices, go to Settings and Monitor Settings, and you can set the value. For individual devices, all you have to do is go to the inventory and select a particular device, click on its edit icon, and above the device summary, you can change the polling settings as well. Does OpManager have an agent-based monitoring system? While OpManager is completely an agentless monitoring system, it does provide the option to add an agent to monitor devices simply to cover all bases. So installation is quite simple. Simply download the exe file and install it in the device that has to be monitored. So again, let's see this. All you have to do is go to Settings, and under Discovery, here we have Deploy Agent. And as it says here, if you wish to manually install the agent to the desired device, you can download the exe file here. And so thank you for patiently listening to, and hope our presentation was useful. So our next session will be on January the 26th, and we'll be talking about network monitoring in detail. I invite you all to attend that session as well. But before we move on, I request all of you to take a moment and participate in the polls to provide your feedback and let us know how we did in this session. We have listed our solutions in review platforms, Gartner Peer Insights. We encourage customers to review us on these platforms, review our solutions, and win an Amazon gift card. We'd like to let you know that OpManager is now compliant with Federal Information Processing Standards, or FIPS 142. FIPS is used by the US government to enforce security standards for cryptographic modules. By being FIPS compliant, OpManager is certified for use in government departments and regulated industries that handle sensitive information. As we reiterated many times before, data protection and security is one of the biggest priorities for us at ManageEngine. And talking about data security, we'd also like to let you know that OpManager can now help stockbrokers become LAMA compliant. LAMA, or API-based logging and monitoring mechanism, is enforced by Securities and Exchange Board of India to monitor technical glitches in the IT infrastructure of stockbrokers or financial services. If you want to learn more in detail about OpManager, you can very well sign up for the certification and become an OpManager associate. The bonus is that for all the participants who attends all the 4 sessions without fail, we'll grant you access to the certification program, which is worth $49 for free. And be sure to stay in the loop about everything new in the IT operations management field. All you have to do is follow us on LinkedIn. We are actively sharing insights, articles, infographics related to the ITOM space. So don't miss out. Stay in touch with us and stay in the conversation. You can find more video resources of OpManager's feature in our YouTube channel, ManageEngine ITOM. You can subscribe to the channel and learn the latest news and features. You can learn how to use our products from our help pages. Please visit the link given here. You can also participate in our online forum, which is ManageEngine Pit Stop. Let us know your opinions and queries about the product. And if you need further help, please mail to us in the given email ID or call us in any of the numbers. Once again, I thank you all for patiently listening, and I hope to see you all in the forthcoming sessions as well.